の海を見つめて思い出すあの夏の影を探して心までもそっと奪って消えた人今はもう
And we are live. Welcome everyone to the Renegade podcast. I'm here all by my lonesome, here on my hyperspace voyage to the stars. And today we got some interesting stuff to talk about. Again, I promise no slop. So, let's see how this goes. Let's see if what I can produce today is slop or if it's good enough for the palate of 300 plus subscribers. Maybe 3,000 eventually. Hopefully we'll get to that point. I don't know. So, in news lately, the economy is kind of just iffy. I mean, things have gone up, but things have also gone down, and they went up again. And, well, I don't know. One of the things that I can always say for certain is that, Biden or Trump or whomever does not control the economy. Like, they could put a few things into practice, and maybe, you could have a few people in his base short stock and things like that, but that's about it. And I'll let you decide who I'm talking about, right? So that's one issue. So we don't really know what the long-term effects of these tariffs are going to be. Although I will say this, it is getting me to the point where I've bought a Costco card, which I'm very proud of. Tried to go for a new credit card, which was, that was pretty cool. I was trying to go for that whole, what was it? It's the Costco card, credit card, but nah, they didn't want to accept that. They didn't want it. But the thing that I've been really, really focusing on lately, because I'm a big credit guy. I love credit, right? One of the things that I've been looking into, and again, this is just me, going through YouTube and whatnot, trying to figure out what's going on, what's this, what's that, What do I find? I find this YouTube, how shall we say, YouTube video, and I wanted to share it with you guys.
Luxury yachts, private jet.
Wait, no. Come on, stop that. No.
Luxury yachts.
Damn it. Fucking having a boomerism here. Alrighty, there we go. Pop that up there. There we go.
Luxury yachts, private jets, gold, diamonds, and invitation-only credit cards with gold and diamonds on them.
Which, by the way, I'll just say it right now. When you get into the leagues of having, actual diamonds and jewel-encrusted crap, you know that you're in the big leagues then. Or honestly, you're in the point of just getting mugged. You wouldn't get mugged because you have your own private jet, right?
This is the world of the ultra-rich, the people who run the Squid Games, the Hunger Games, and whatever games this is. And they don't
Romanians from the fucking from the Eastern Orthodox Church speaking in tongues. No, literally, if you actually go Google, what was it, the Eyes Wide Shut, it's actually a Orthodox Romanian chant, backwards. Not because it's satanic, but because it sounds weird. It even sounds even weirder as they talk backwards.
Credit cards like you do. No, their credit cards are black or gold or encrusted with diamonds, and you can't just apply. You have to be invited or referred by a member who is also part of the Illuminati. I mean, who is also a high net worth individual. So what do you get?
So one of the chosen. I'm just playing. I'm not going to play that card. That's not fair to Mr. Shapiro. Which we're going to talk about Shapiro soon, also.
Well, access to private clubs, even whole private airport terminals. You get deals on private jets, private escorts through international airports. Just take a normal benefit and then put the word private in front of it, and that basically sums it up. But many of these cards are very cool, and in this video, I'm gonna go through 10 of them. This is the 10 most exclusive black cards in the world. And this video is...
And this video, you're gonna realize why I'm showing this to you guys, because you think to yourself, what the hell does this have to do with anything? I could barely afford groceries in America. There are starving people in America. There's no longer starving people in China. They censored that shit and scrubbed it from the net, of course.
Brought to you by Aerolo, but more on that later. Number 1, the Eurasian Bank Diamond Card.
No, we're not going to have the Walrus Kingdom Hearts card. Fuck that. No. No. I actually did some research into this, and the only reason I bring this up is because this is just like the ultra rich stuff. I could actually, if I had the income that I have in America right now, I could get 2 of these at the same time. I have enough income to have that. You know why? Because the dollar is king, baby. We don't want any of that fucking, Pokemon money. Get that shit out of here.
So this
Walrus
is an
wealth.
invitation-only credit card issued by Eurasian Bank, which is a Russian bank, but it is issued by their subsidiary in Kazakhstan. You know, the greatest country
Fucking Borat's place, right?
in the world. Now, with many of these cards, it's hard to find verified information about them online just because they're invite only.
Well, careful now. Given some of the shit that the Russian elites believe, you might be onto something there, unironically.
Illuminati doesn't want you to know about them. But here's what I can find from various sources. The card is for members of Eurasian Bank who have 15 million Kazakhstani tenj, that's their currency, which is about 31,000 US dollars.
Which, again, I feel so seen right now. I could literally get walrus money and then basically to go to Dubai and piss it all on fucking giving it all to the Ukrainians.
In their account. The joining fee is around 1,200 US dollars, and it's only available for members of Eurasian Bank's private banking service. That one we do have some information on.
Oh.
It's described as a private club, and we have a heavily airbrushed photo of the managing director.
Yeah, she needs more cigarette scars, and like she's probably a tobacco smoker like all the fucking Eastern Europeans.
Kurje Tatiana welcoming you, and also a typical personal consultant that you get the services of as a member. I'm sure they all look like this.
I'm sure they're all thoughts. Holy shit! No! Vlad, really? Come on, you could have spent a little bit. You couldn't have hired the local thought at the grocery store. Like, no, legitimately, they couldn't have hired some fucking, Russian doll on Instagram for this shit. No, they had to be a cheapo. I hate to be the guy who says this, buddy, but not everything can be caught. Not everything in the world costs money. For everything else, there's fucking the MasterCard, baby.
See a stock photo? Oh, she's a stock photo. I'm
Oh.
so disappointed. Anyway, I'm sure all their women are beautiful because I have heard that Kazakhstan is a very nice place. But now let's look at the actual card. Apparently you have to be either recommended by the board of the bank or have referrals from 2 existing card holders. The card itself is black metal with gold inlays, and
It looks like something from the Kingdom Hearts. Like, look at that. Come on. We're gonna fucking fight the fucking Eurasianists and save Kingdom Hearts, chat. We're gonna save the Kingdom Hearts with the Eurasian Bank Black card that apparently is not nearly as exclusive as some of these other cards on this list. But I really wanted to point this out because, again, I don't know if it's algorithm or if it's just, the sphere of the multi-schizo sphere influence of the walrus is growing on us. I don't know. But I wanted to show that to you guys. See, and then get a few people in here just to check how many others we got here. A little few people join in for a second before we continue. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff that happened in my life recently. I finally managed to talk to the goth cleaning lady. All this time, yeah, I got to talk to the goth cleaning lady. Found a picture of her even, got some information about her, and good thing for me, I got to go to Tucson to go meet the chick again. And I say the goth cleaning lady because it was so interesting because she was totally gothed the fuck out last time I saw her. And it was at night, right? So it was after hours, so it was really like, oh my goodness gracious, what am I going to say to this chick? Because the first thing she says the first time I encounter her, I'm like, oh, I'm just working here. Oh, look, a human? Like that's how she sound. I sent a link to I sent a picture to Luke, my artistic layman friend, and she says she looks like Morgana or Morticia, I think it is. Yeah, Morticia. Yeah, Morticia. She doesn't look like the cat from fucking Persona. No. Nor the freaking wizard, the wizard chick from freaking Merlin. But that's neither here nor there. No, what happened was I went there and I was doing a over the night gig essentially. The company needed me there for multiple days, of course. So this was the first chance I really had a chance to actually talk to this chick. Not because you can't talk to her, right? But more because of, she's 100 miles away and she works at night, which is fucking hilarious because at this point I start, you have this, like, you're building up this idea in your head, right? Of what this person's like. You give her a title and you start ideating, right? Now, I do this, and at the same freaking time, my original plan is I'm going to ask her out. I'm going to ask her for a cup of coffee. That's what I plan to do. Nothing fucking creepy, but this is at work, right? So now, a simple asking basically Linda Carter out, Wonder Woman out, for a cup of coffee goes into a situation where it's like fucking no man's land. And I even said before many times on this podcast, the place I work at has lots of SJW. Oh boy, it's an SJW rich environment because it's an SJW rich industry. I'll let you decide which is which. So my goal in that the whole time is, because I'm going to be there for probably about, let's say, all day, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I believe. And then Saturday, I test everything. And then come Sunday, I, head back, right? So this whole day gig, they decide, the company being, social justice advocates, they hire this, I guess, mom and pop shop, because, that's the best thing you can describe them as. Sorry, I'm having hiccups. Let me get a drink. So they have this mom and pop shop that's working on, doing the cabling and redoing, like, the infrastructure and whatnot of the office. And all I'm doing, right, is I'm supposed to oversee these people. And these people, there's nothing wrong with them. They're from back east, Chicago, right? They even sound like my mother, and they said, you guys sound like me. I'm like, really? Really? Okay. So let's see if I can get this thing operational. We are not private, we are public. Save. There we go. Got a few more people to come in. There we go. So I'm basically overseeing these people, and I don't know if this old lady's is coughing up a lung because she's having to go into the ventilation and whatnot, right? And her husband's also a great guy. They're all pretty cool. In fact, one of them reminds me of a former teacher I knew back in middle school. But these couples, they're nice enough. And what's hilarious about it is that right at the I'd say the first day we were out there on Wednesday, the old lady sees the goth cleaning lady, right? And the whole time I'm watching this, the whole time this is happening, I'm like, oh my god, she saw him too, and she's describing him as beautiful. I'm like, whoa, maybe I am onto something here. And I said to her, between you and me, I'm going to ask her out for a cup of coffee, because I'm needing people to back me on this shit. Not because I'm a coward, but because we're at work, okay? And a simple cup of coffee to me is like going into no man's land, right? You don't know what the fuck you're going to get. You have no idea what's gonna occur. So I get her to back my play, and I asked what was her name? What'd she look like? And this whole fucking time, I finally get a chance to ask the chick out the next night, right? Because we have to have some level of continuity, and things can never be so simple. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, my God, I'm just asking a girl for a cup of coffee, and I am literally terrified. I am scared shitless, like I'm having to go over the top into no man's land. And, like, again, there's a lot of guys out there like myself who have that very same fear. and it prevents them from actually going to meet girls IRL, not just at the work, but also in, in let's say, activities and whatnot. So I get the blessing of Miracle Max's wife, because that's basically what these characters are. They're fucking Miracle Max, like Billy Crystal's character in The Princess Bride. And so they're going to back my... Good luck storming the freaking No Man's Land, right? Because I'm going to storm No Man's Land, and I'm going to find out what's what. So I go out and storm No Man's Land to meet Wonder Woman. And I ask her out. I say I had to shoot my shot. Right? She doesn't reject me. She just is like, oh, I'm not interested. There you go. Simple and clean, right? But I was happy I got that shit done. In fact, I felt way more accomplished just by talking to the chick. Just by talking to the chick, felt way more accomplished. Because I'll tell you this, she wasn't no ugly chick. Literally looked like frickin', allegedly looked like frickin' Morticia. The 1960s one, the one that actually fucking is hot. Not just like, goth, like not... She's punk before punk became mainstream and cool, if that makes any sense. So like back when they didn't define what goth identity shit is. We're going on to the next point. But I did manage to find a very interesting silver pendant out of that whole ordeal. Very interesting how whenever I have life-changing experiences, I find jewels and stuff. Maybe it's just the magpie in me, or maybe it's Maybelline. I'm not sure. But I like to think that when I level up, I get God gives me a nice little treat. So let's see what else we got here today. Alrighty. What do we have for us? Okay. So I had a few things I wanted to discuss and talk about today. This one was interesting to me because we're gonna slowly get an idea of what we're gonna talk about. This was something I had on here.
Right.
From V Monroe, and I love V because V is actually just an interesting character. We're not gonna kick V too hard tonight. We're just gonna kick V a little bit and nudge him in the correct direction. Now, Arch is asking himself, why do the leftists keep siding with demons? Right? It's getting to the point where like these people they just cannot understand. They can't see the world through a binary lens, even if it's as simple as the Jedi versus the Sith. They have to inject nuance. They have to inject bullshit and context and whatnot into it. Oh, these demons, like, look at Devil May Cry, right? The whole Devil May Cry, which, by the way, Johnny Bosch, really? Did you really have the money that badly? We couldn't get Lelouch Rebellion R3 or R4? Come on. No, we got freaking Devil May Cry. And even then, the freaking Devil May Cry characters, right? They're basically allegories for Islam and how America's just bombing the shit out of hell. To these point where these people are literally like, we're going to side with Slanesh because the God Emperor is just such an oppressive fascist. It's the most insane, insidious cultural Marxist, we have to root for the underdog crap. Now, I like rooting for the underdog, okay? I like Elric of Moltebane more than any straight guy should. But we have to draw the line when we start siding with the ruinous powers. Because these are the type of people who will literally, they would unironically root for the Nazis if it was World War II. Because they root for the underdog, along with the Soviets and the Japanese. It's not because they're racist, it's because they're just against everybody, right?
Right, so Arch is noticing something really interesting here. The fact that the left can't stop siding with demons. And for those of you that pay attention...
We're going to go watch the original source as well in a second. But this is not something that is new. Like, even Dev from Short Fat Otaku, right? He noticed these cunts were basically siding with the evil. The left was always siding with evil. And it's because, historically speaking, the left has always been evil. They always have been. Kali's hand is open in the left hand, while the right holds a sword, right? If you got out of the wrong side of the bed in the morning in the Roman tradition, it was usually the left side. If people were superstitious of left-handedness. Matthew, I think 25, what was it, 25:13, I believe? I'm not entirely sure, but it's when, Christ talks about separating the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep on the right and the goats on the left, right? There's a reason why these people keep siding with the demons. It's not because they themselves are demonic. It's because they idealize the fucking demonic. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with people who think non-serviam is a fucking radical way of living. Oh, non-serviam. Okay, well, how is it non-serviam? Are you going to fuck off and make your own business? No, you're going to parasite off the state. And the state is their god. And the state is the one who creates the morality. I'm going to look this up in a second.
On the internet, you would notice that in the last couple of years, there have been a lot of individuals that are siding with characters that are designed to be irredeemably evil. Characters like the Tyranids, characters like the Forces of Chaos.
Well,
like,
in fairness, V, in fairness, the Forces of Chaos were ripped off by they were inspired by Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melpomene, right? And that was all about basically giving, the protagonist role to a villain, essentially. And Elric, you could kill him in fucking D&D. He's statted, we can kill it, okay? Fucking shoot a phaser at the motherfucker from, 4th edition. Bam! Fucking, then I have to fight the Stormbringer or something, right? No, but in all seriousness, a lot of this moral relativist shit started with Moorcock. So a lot of this, you have to understand where we sit in time right now. There are living generations who know the world without this type of moral relativism, who saw the world in such a way that they knew what right and wrong were and weren't. And they still exist. We don't have to, settle on any, this is just the way the world is, this is the way. No, we don't. We can make the world a better place. Now, granted, I don't like using the state to do that, but the left does. So the question then becomes, what are we going to do? Are we going to break all their toys? Because I want to break all their toys. The right, who are not the best either, whether it be the monarchists or what have you from the French Revolution, which I'm not a monarchist. I hate monarchy. But I'm not going to serve in the ruinous powers of the leftist army, the spiritual goat army. And that's not greatest of all time either. So I want to watch the original Arch Warhammer thing, because I think that's going to be interesting. If it's still up. I mean, at this point, if it's not up, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Now we're in it.
Again?
Yeah, again. Okie dokie. They love evil.
Again?
You could not be serious. 3 times in as many weeks. Wokeism try not to identify with actual demons from hell challenge. Difficulty rating literally unironically impossible.
Yeah, I know, right? Because they see demons as pre-Christian deities that should be worshipped. There's those evil patriarchs who fucking oppress them.
As it turns out. As here we have a pride flag with Khorne, Slanesh, Tzeentch, and Nurgle combined to queer chaos forever. This coming hot on the heels of the Devil May Cry anime, declaring that demons are just brown people that want to live in America, and that it is wrong for the United States to bomb the shit out of hell.
Just hell is the one place you could probably nuke and not have any consequence. Probably not any effect either, but nonetheless.
This seemed ridiculous. Who could ever assume that bombing hell could be a bad thing Unless we remember that the week before that again, Trench Crusade came out and said, oh no, 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 no. There's no clear good and evil in our setting. I mean, yes, flail-cocked rape demons from the third circle of Infernum are indeed rising up on Earth to pillage, violate, and eat every single human soul on the planet, but don't you know, the Christians are doing some pretty mean things in order to live.
Which, I will say this. This is basically liberation theology combined with how shall we say it, multicultural, or Marxist feminism. No, how would I say this? Critical theory combined with liberation theology. That's what this is. So basically these people are going to identify with the forces of chaos, aka the forces of change, because we are change, don't you know, right? They're going to side with it specifically to undermine the system. That's what they're doing. And people who buy into this notion of, oh, we need to protect the cosmic balance. No, we're not doing this. Fuck that shit. If Trump is the God Emperor, then I am the goddamn veteran of the Thousand Psychic Wars, the eternal champion. Hallelujah.
Oh, well, complete moral equivalence there, no doubt about it. You know, when I first started talking about Trench Crusade and how it seems as if the developers of that game identify more with the demons than the Christians, I felt like I was stretching a little bit, you know? I generally felt like that, okay, this is a little bit of a crazy hypothesis, but I can see the patterns. Well, it's not a stretch anymore, is it? It was turned into a slow, you know, little bit of a hands out there to barely even a motion in less than a month. Okay, right. So, we are actually going to have to explain this. How you can create stuff like this, where the Gene Stealer cults are striking workers.
Babe killed 10,000 striking workers, brothers. This is good. We are the good guy. What the It's just, you have to ask yourself if this shit is AI, because it's very simple to fucking do, right? I don't think AI could come up with this stuff that this is dumb, okay? I actually am kind of interested in testing it, but let's not kid ourselves. There's a reason why we do not create machines that think.
How this can actually happen? How does anyone actually identify with evil? How is that possible? Surely anyone would look at something like
Because, dude, they're fighting the man. They're fighting the good fight. They're fighting the oppressor. The oppressive angels who just want to establish their 1,000-year Reich on Earth, don't you know? It's just like one of their fucking Japanese animes.
this and go, I'm not identifying with the bad guys, that's insane. I'm not going to declare the child-eating eldritch abomination from It a queer icon because it makes my movement look really, really
Yeah, don't forget the Babadook.
bad. I am not going to embrace the name of feminines because it makes me look really, really bad. And yet, that is all in a day's work of modern-day progressivism. Okay, so to actually explain this properly, this comes from Sig Marxism. Sig Marxism is a extreme left-wing Reddit website that has been sadly dormant for a rather long time. Tragic.
Which, honestly, that should be the first tip-off that this is not organic. These are people, if it's been dormant and it comes back, that tells you that they've been activated. Quite literally in this regard. So, why have they been activated?
Because it was a prime content farm. This was the post. No pride in the Imperium, death to all emperors, with 1,000 upvotes, which is pretty good for a basically dead subreddit. This subreddit has a few rules, like don't punch left. This is a space for all leftists, not a place to resolve differences between tendencies. Because when you're arguing about which flavor of fascism you prefer, you're going to get a lot of infighting amongst the tankies and the anarchists and the communists, etc. Except from liberals, of course, who are exempt from Rule 2. You can punch liberals all you want, because at the end of the day, they're only really useful idiots for the march of far more extreme left-wingism. So, how...
Yeah, this is such a freaking front. I don't know what the fuck it is. Like, how can you not see that as a front? The way it's just set up just sounds too professional for any leftist to actually believe in.
Does this lead us to the identification with evil? Well, it's all in the title right there. No pride in the Imperium, death to all emperors. In 40k, the established world order is, of course, the Imperium. What is considered normal is to go, Khorne, who kills everyone, who cares not from whence the blood flows, who is nothing but a bloodthirsty, monstrous, demonic deity, is not a good thing. However, to progressivism, it is a good thing. Absolute excess pleasure to the point of self-destruction is not a good thing.
Yeah, don't be a smackhead. Oh, but to the fucking left, absolutely be a smackhead. Oh, be a slob, be a fat bastard. Go fucking be fucking with Papa Nurgle. Oh, you want to be a fucking you want to go with the birds and hang out with Stolas, the fucking chicken, the chicken demon. Fucking hang out with fucking Zeech.
All that the working class would inevitably, the point of self-destruction is not a good thing, but to left-wingism, it's a good thing. We change what is wrong, regardless of whether or not it's functional or not. Good thing. We are part of nature. Depression, death, and rot. Good thing. How? Well, we're gonna have to do a little bit of a history lesson here. At the ending days of the 1800s, the bearded source of all evil, Karl Marx, forwarded a hypothesis, a theory, stating that the working class would inevitably rise up against its oppressors. The oppressors, of course, were the
archons.
A bourgeoisie, capitalist class, the rich that controlled society.
That's false consciousness, my friend. Being shot and buried is what they should have wanted.
Eventually, as education became more and more common, and access to capital and factories spread more equally, so that people could actually create their own goods and seize their means of production, it would become inevitable that the working class would do so, as they would realize, hold on, I'm being oppressed. I don't want to be oppressed anymore, so I am going to seize control of the means that are oppressing me. I'm going to take over my own labor, and I am going to overthrow the tyrants. It was inevitable.
I'm going to overthrow the archons, and then I'm going to become the archon, and then you will all worship the state and all bow before me and mine.
And the decade, and the decade, and the decade, and the decade, until something like 50 years later, a lot of socialists and Marxists were sitting around going, why hasn't anything happened? The bearded man promised me it was inevitable. Why has it only occurred in Russia? And then quickly, of course,
That's false consciousness.
Under the boots of the Stalinists. How could this be? The proletariat must know they're oppressed. We've been telling them so for very long. Indeed, during the early...
And he goes on to talk about Gramsci and all the rest of it. And again, you have to understand how deep this shit goes. This shit goes back all the way to the 1950s and 60s. And if you look into that era, because that's where the rot began, okay, in the 1960s, right? That's when we started seeing, for the first time, kids coming back, like some young fucking teenager, right? Coming back from, Vietnam, getting their head blown off and whatnot. There's actual, this push to, try to humanize the enemy so that way they would hopefully humanize us, right? There's that sort of, nuance to it. But here's the problem. Rapists are humans too. And rape implies intent. And I'm not going to get into, weird Stalinist shit here because, I'll leave that to tick history when it comes to the 8-men hybrids and whatnot. But let's just say, for the sake of our argument, murder and rape are human crimes. There's no rape and murder that happens in, let's say, the nature, right? Because there's no consent. Animals can't consent, so therefore, because they can't consent and they're just animals, therefore, just go with it, right? But no, there's more nuance. The leftists will be like, oh, you totally can fucking get that horse to consent. Okay, we'll back it up with there. We'll keep going.
Etc. There were a rising interest in Marxist ideology. Marxist movements, workers' movements, etc., had often an enormous amount of members in their political parliaments or education, until the point where literally everything we considered normal had been flipped on its head. This includes, of course, morality and normal value systems. This is how we arrive at the point of I and you, I'm pretty sure, looking at this and going, Korn doesn't just fight oppressors. That's not really what he does.
He fights everybody. He's the eternal revolutionary. What are you talking about?
That's a hell of a lot more than drinking the pleasures of life. This is obvious.
Oh, that depends on what you mean by life. You could very well argue that it's the bodily fluids. Precious bodily fluids, Mandrake. The frickin' fluorine in the water supply that's created by the God Emperor to keep us down, right?
Evil. This is obviously evil. This is obviously good, etc. So, to inverse morality, you need to boldly proclaim that no, these symbols of actual evil are good. They are revolutionary, you see. Korn doesn't merely just be a demonic entity that revels in the blood of actually literally everyone. No. He revels in the blood of tyrants. Yes, he revels in the blood of oppressors.
Of tyrants, patriots, the mailman, the dog, the nice lady with a big pair of tits, orcs, goblins, white girls, dark girls, freaking Asians, Europeans, everybody, my friends.
He revels in the blood of emperors and the petty bourgeoisie. And as always, there is a pinch of truth in it. That's how it's sold. Yes, absolutely, Khorne does fight oppression, alongside fighting absolutely everything else. Slanesh too does take pleasure in life. In fact, there is literally a passage in Liber Chaotica where there's an interview with a known Slaneshi cultist, where the interviewer is like, so why did you do it? How did you become a Slaneshi cultist? I mean, have you seen the guys up north? This is obviously evil. And the guy, an educated aristocrat, is just like, no, you misunderstand. Slanesh isn't like that at all. Slanesh is merely a god that asks you to take pleasure in living, that asks you to take pleasure in the food that you eat.
Love the one you live. Love is love. You know, yeah, live, laugh, and love.
In the company you entertain, etc. That's all Slanesh does. Forgetting to mention that the noble in question carved up and ate his entire family for dinner afterwards. Because that is exactly the point of Slanesh. It is excess. It is always pushing forward.
It's not just jerking it off. It's like Lay's. You can't just have one, right? You can't just fuck a chick. Now you have to fuck 3 chicks. Oh, now you have to fuck 5 chicks. Oh, maybe a dude as well. It literally is the Cenobites. Come on, guys. And, you know, the fags know what the Cenobites are. I mean, the fags invented the Cenobites.
Same with all of it. There are iotas of truth that justify the turn to a revolutionary end. And this, then, is where you arrive at things like this, where even if the gene stealer cults have nothing to do with communism, beyond being absolutely centralized and authoritarian, I suppose, it is indeed potentially striking workers. Absolutely. Gene stealer cults will infiltrate imperial society under the guise of attempting to liberate it. They will shut down factories, seize the means of production. They will attempt to overthrow what they present to be an authoritarian rule. However, there's the kicker. Whilst the Imperium is absolutely authoritarian, oh hell yes, that isn't the reason why the Gene Stealer cults are doing anything. They aren't doing this to improve the lives of the people on the planet.
It's like being in Poland. You have Mommy Land and Daddy Land coming in from the east and the west, and you're kind of fucked either way. It's not to say that Daddy Land is better than Mommy Land, but Mommy Land is far, could Mommy Land you will starve and then get shot, and Daddy Land you will get shot and then you'll starve, and sometimes vice versa.
They're not doing this to help their fellow workers, quote unquote, or citizens out. They are doing this so that they can eat them. Which is why this is a brilliant little metaphor for Marxism. Remember that whole thing, don't punch left followed by accept liberalism? Well, the liberals are the ones who make this meme, who go, they're just striking workers. How are you killing them? You're not the good guys. You're screwing yourself. You are gaslighting yourself into thinking you're good when you're obviously evil. These will then swiftly be eaten, devoured, indeed, by these people who go, oh, yeah, no, except for you. You we can purge. You are our useful idiots.
You're the Mensheviks.
Continue until eventually you end up with Stalinism, yet again, tankyism, where the biggest, baddest socialists will look at all of the others and go, your services are no longer needed, comrade. The revolution will remember you. Chick, chick, bang. This then is also, yet again, coming back to the identification with evil. It is all to upset the natural order. It is also all to find people who are willing to accept it, to weed out the wheat from the chaff. Because if somebody looks at this and goes...
It's not just the natural order. It should also be known as the just a normal order, right? Not all order is good, and not all chaos is bad. Again, going back to the whole Michael Moorcock shtick, right? Chaos was one element in it. It wasn't until order came into the world that Elric's world became our world. Spoilers. And yes, Roland was in that as well. Oh boy. So, besides identifying with evil, what else we got on our hands? What else did I want to talk about today? Well, I think... Oh, Verdansk. So, they finally decided to cave to the demands. Who's they? Activision and Call of Duty. People wanted Warzone 1, and we went through Warzone 2, which was shit, by the way. Warzone 3, which was absolutely just... Like, it tried to get there again, but then they brought back Verdansk, and they changed a lot of the UI to the point where you have the same the same Modern Warfare 2019 sound effects and schemes, and even the graphics to a certain degree. Granted, they still have the Omni movement, right? But they had to like undo almost like 2 or 3 years, probably multiple years after that, of work and content, and then rework it so they could get and keep alive the fucking game. So, vote with your not just your time, but not just your wallet, but also time and attention. I love Call of Duty. I like it. We get to go jump into videogame.net any freaking day. So let's see what else we got here on my list of things we could talk about. Okay, this was interesting. Here's another guy I found. I like this guy. His name's Raymond Thought and Mind. Give me 1 second. Boop. And boop. This guy reminds me so much. I don't know if it's just the lighting. He reminds me of a cross between Joseph Seed and the Cinema Snob.
I realize that I'm probably going to get called a abject jerk for this one. Just bear with me here for a second. This brings me so much unmitigated joy, and no, I'm not ashamed of that fact. I am experiencing pure Schadenfreude right now, and quite frankly, and hear me, ladies, when I say this. This is why men voted for Donald Trump. The same reason that you guys cling to your Democrat policies and your Democrat politicians and your AOCs and Kamala Comic-Cons as ardently as you do is the exact reason men in mass voted for Donald Trump. I'm being completely serious about that one. I'm being completely serious. What we are about to get into, and 35-year-old was 29 months away from getting her $247,804 student debt forgiven.
I'm so glad I didn't go to college. One of the things I could say is always count your blessings, right? I can remember when I was a kid, I didn't have cable. For the longest fucking time, I did not have any cable at all on my I didn't have any cable at my old childhood home, right? But what we did have was we had like a shoddy type of cable, because I guess we sort of had, this was back when we still had the A and B switch, if that makes any sense, to switch over different cable lines, because we couldn't have everything all on one, because that's how old this fucking house was, right? And I can remember we had access to a few cable shows. Sci-Fi, Travel Channel, BET, AZN, and I want to say G4. We would thankfully had G4 and TV Land, of course, right? So we got to see Addams Family and whatnot. You say, what does this have to do with this guy? Well, I think I'll just take a little bit of a break here for a second, because I found what another topic I could talk about. It's counting your blessings, I guess, is the topic we'll be discussing. I'm thankful that, one, I didn't, while everyone else was like partying and whatnot, oh, we're watching Yu Yu Hakusho, we're watching Inuyasha, we're watching all the crap that's on, Toonami and Adult Swim. I didn't get any access to that, right? And I felt so left out. But in the context of everything up until that point, I got to see some good anime. Shit like, what was it? Record of the Lotus War. I got to see Project Echo. I got to see Pat Labar and all this other, classic anime that stood the test of time in a lot of ways. And I got to see it before anyone else, right? Because it was AZN television, right? Because, again, you didn't have much freaking choice when it comes to, certain types of TV and channels and selection and whatnot. But, again, count what you have, right? So I'm looking back and thinking, oh, I wanted to go to college so badly. And I'll tell you the real reason I wanted to go to college is to get fucking laid. That's the only fucking reason. I mean, disproportionate amount of, was it like 2 girls for every guy at this point? Or is it even more? I really don't know what the gender breakdown is anymore regarding college. But I'll tell you this right now. There aren't enough men going, and there sure as shit ain't enough white guys going, right? But hey, you know, I'm not the one who brought up race. They did. But be that as it may, again, I'm lucky that I didn't go to college. And you know, all the women who did, well,
Now she's stuck. I might be the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I'm not kidding about that. I'm sorry. I'm very happy about this. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. This is exactly why I voted for Donald Trump. This is exactly why I voted for Donald Trump. $247,000. $247,804. Let me do some quick math here. Plus, let's say 125. Okay, both of my houses added up together. Well, no, let's less the mortgage. Yeah, less the mortgage. That's still not even close to both of my houses.
yep, it's going to be interesting because they're going to be the most credentialed group of women out there, but the guys are going to have all the stuff. So we're going to have the castle, you're going to have the cash, but you're not going to be able to afford anything because you have too many freaking obligations, right? So little old me who freaking built my own my own life essentially from scratch, built my own resume because I went the resume route, trying to get experiences, not just, you know, going to Coachella, which apparently Coachella is happening right now. And I know this because I follow a few hippy-dippy fucking thoughts on freaking Instagram. But from what I understand, it's going to be a very interesting future. Let's just say that I'm following Aaron Clary's advice, and this guy watches Clary as well. It will be very interesting. We're going to be in some interesting times.
She owes $50,000 more than the equity I have in my real estate. And I make money with my real estate. $247,804. That is $250,000 at 35 years old. You want to talk? What's the old joke? What do you call a female loser? There's no word for a female loser. I mean, no, you should not.
Is she hot though? Because if she's hot, then we might be able to work something out. We might be able to figure out a payment plan, so to speak.
Get $250,000 in student loan debt forgiven. You absolutely should not get $250,000 in student loan debt forgiven. I think it's bullshit. It's not bankruptable. But sure, go ahead. Get a bankruptcy at 35 years old. And then what is 7 years from now? You'd be 42 and still not own a house. You realize in bankruptcy, they take your assets. And there's a means test. There's something called a means test. In order to declare bankruptcy, you have to prove to the state that you legally, you cannot pay these things. Otherwise, you end up on a payment plan for the $247,000, and you still pay the $247,000. Oh, and your credit's still ruined. It's...
Fuck. You know, honestly, I should be looking for a house myself at this point. Now, granted, I'm waiting until I get a promotion at my work, and they've been talking about giving me a promotion. You know, they really, really like me at my work. So.
Do we even want to look up Annie Nova, the author? Yeah, she looks like a normie-conforming, typical-ass millennial.
Normie-conforming.
I don't even care. So she reports on student loans, and she went to CUNY for graduate school. Of course she did. So she's a good little indoctrinated social slave. Many student loan borrowers are experiencing challenges on their timelines for debt forgiveness.
Fucking Joseph
Every
Seed.
one of them is just by default on a timeline for debt forgiveness. Here's what they can do to stay on track for their relief.
God.
Not live in a city.
Again, it's in all fairness, I did speed up his voice a bit just to for whatnot, but it just, he's not wrong, but it's so entertaining. I love this guy. He's fucking awesome. Go subscribe to him. Raymond Thoughts in Mind.
Aubrey Bertram was starting to imagine her life without student debt. Bertram, a staff attorney at Wild, Montana. She's an attorney. And yeah, now wait a minute. Wait one hot goddamn second here. She's an attorney. She's a staff attorney. Sorry, I gotta adjust my damn chair here because the stupid casters hit my ankles, and I hate that sensation. She's a goddamn staff attorney. Not a paralegal. On staff. And she can't pay back $250,000 in student loan debt. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, she has to buy the Gucci. She has to buy the name brands. Which, by the way, there was another chick I saw a few days ago, fucking at Costco, Fucking chick had a very fine freaking body. Very fucking fine. She was wearing Lululemons and shit, you know? But, you know, that's something totally different. I don't know. But I love the fact this is not one of the reasons I voted for Trump. One of the reasons I voted for Trump specifically was to fight Biden. And I did, and if you really think about it, I didn't really vote for Trump prior just to get back at, you know, the establishment. I fucking voted for Trump because haha, memes are funny. Let's see if we can meme a president. That won't do anything. That won't harm anyone. Let's see.
Like, are you guys hearing how frustrating this is becoming? As we and let me. I have not read this. I guarantee you, this becomes infuriating by the end of it. Bertram, a staff attorney at Wild Montana, a nonprofit that works on land conservation in the state. She has $250,000 in student loan debt, and she works as a staff attorney for a nonprofit. This is why your taxes are so high. This is why inflation is so high. We're writing basically unguaranteed, unsecured loans willy-nilly to any 18-year-old with a pulse, backed by the full faith and credit of the United States Treasury.
They wouldn't give me any. They would not give me anything. Just FYI, I could not get access to any of that type of crap.
Treasury, which views your student loan debts as the highest, the most valuable asset on their balance sheet, as far as revenues go. The highest valued asset on the Treasury's balance sheet is the U.S. student loan debt at $2.5 trillion. She's $250,000 in student loan debt. She works for a fucking nonprofit. No profit in the name, by the way. I guarantee you she pulls at least six figures working as for a fucking nonprofit as an attorney, a staff attorney.
No, I think she's pulling in at least 80,000. That's what I think is going on. And if she was smart, she would rent, right? And if she could easily pay it off. She may very well be living her life, let's say like a 50K person or a 60K person, and then 10,000 goes to like taxes and whatnot, and then another 10,000 gets paid off every fucking year for the rest of her life, right? So that would put her almost 20 years or 24 years if you had to pay that shit off. But even then, it's so fucking expensive. How the hell did you rack up that much fucking money, right? These loans are you serious? They absolutely are. But that doesn't necessarily... But you still bought into it. You sold your soul. Don't blame the devil because he fucking gave you a bad contract. Blame yourself for fucking selling your soul.
Land conservation in the state had just around 2.5 years left of payments before her $247,000 federal student loan balance would be excused under the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. No.
So it wasn't even that. What the fuck was she studying? What part of law? Was it like fucking tort law or fucking criminal law? Like, what was it?
I'm sorry. This is why I voted for Donald Trump. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You took $247,000. You have at 35 years old, you had at least 15 years of adult life. How much have I earned? Let me just figure out a quick estimate of gross receipts. Let's say on average, the first couple years of my 20s were sub $50,000. So let's say $100,000 up to 23, and then 23 was $65,000. So let's do 65 times. Let's say I did that for 4 years, because that's kind of about right. Because I had about 6 months of unemployment there for a while. So 260,000 right there. 4 years is $65,000 or $260,000 plus $100,000. So there's 360. We're just going to subtract the $100,000 from that because that's what you pay in taxes, basically. And then I made basically over $75,000 from age 26 to 32, 33, 35. No, and in the last 4 years, I've made over $100,000.
Jeez.
I probably have made about $1 million, to be honest.
Badass.
35-year-old staff attorney. What's Wild Montana's budget? What is Wild Montana's annual budget? They have to fucking publish that shit because funding and financials. IRS Form 990 filings. Previous years, 2023, annual report, audited financial statements. Okay, you can't click on it. Okay, 2022 is the last annual report. Foundation grants, $1.5 million. Individual giving, $1.1 million. $2.1 million conservation program. Administration is $308,000, and fundraising is... Okay, so they're spending $308,000 on their administration. But here's the thing, they probably wrap in their salaries for legal and counsel and all that shit into their $2.1 million of conservation programs.
What's going to happen here is women are going to have civilization because they have all the titles, right? And men will have all the money. Because what do they really have? They have knowledge that's trade knowledge, right? Like having knowledge about, the financial system and knowledge about, how to be a staff attorney. That's stuff you can't learn in a trade environment. You can only have that passed on to you by someone who's higher up in the food chain than you. Or if you're willing to sit back and actually have some sort of standard that you test for, like the bar, and then you study on your own. And even then, I'm pretty sure there are certain rules, like you have to have so much time in court and whatnot. It's a lot of it is streamlined through college, but more than likely you'll have women who have all the state power, but you will have all the men with the financial power coming up here soon. And what's sad here is that some of these women are not even good looking. I mean, we're not really getting, another freaking Alexandra Daddario anytime soon. I mean, that chick was what, a fucking Gen Xer? Freaking early millennial? I don't even know what the hell you call her.
What does a staff attorney for a non-profit make? Just give me a fucking... Do I have to switch over to Google to get the actual answer? Like, I really... Guys, everybody who keeps telling me to use Brave, Google is a better search engine. It just is. What is the median salary for a staff attorney at a non-profit? Look at that. $70,000 to $100,000 a year.
But that's bullshit. Because I'll tell you this, as somebody who actually is in another field like IT, you could the title doesn't really matter. They really, really don't matter, because I guarantee you these people are going to exaggerate their title, because most of the time, even if you go into the attorney field, right, or the legal field, they probably are training their own trainees. Like, they probably have people who are interested in it, and they came out of college and they're already being trained. So even if, let's say, you get a title, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will have the same responsibilities, right? That's one thing you have to keep in mind. What else we got here? What else do I have in my... Okay, this was interesting. This is more what like people come to my channel for, specifically. Here we go. Oh yeah, Magic Prepper finally figured out about the ruinous goddamn powers.
All right, everybody, I should be live. And since I'm usually not right away, I'll just go ahead and say thanks for hanging out, Replay Crew, and always checking back into the comments, because I appreciate you.
Here we go.
Harbor Christian beliefs, I believe in Jesus Christ. So, Satan, not into it, not a fan of satanic cults, not feeling like they're on the right side of history or the right side of anything. And,
they're lefties. We've already established that.
so while we go through this, if that bias comes through, well, there you go. Now you know why. But hey, at least you're aware of it now, and you know that, well, I am who I am. So,
I have the similar picture of Red Dawn right there. I have a very similar picture.
yeah.
Fucking Italian Red Dawn.
Teen charged with killing parents also plan to assassinate Trump, FBI says. Now, this story is from April 13th, but this arrest happened, I believe, a month ago, but this is the information that was released in an FBI affidavit here recently. So now we have a lot more info to work on and some awareness challenges regarding some of these possible threats that we're facing here in the future, okay? So, 17-year-old Wisconsin teen charged with killing his parents is also accused of plotting to assassinate President Donald Trump, according to an unsealed affidavit from the FBI. Last month, Nikita Kasem of Waukesha, or is it Waukesha? I think it's Waukesha, because Wisconsin's weird, was charged with, by the way, I like Wisconsin, don't get mad at me, was charged with killing his mother, 35-year-old Tatiana Kasap, and his stepfather, 51-year-old Donald Mayer, and accused of living with their corpses for 2 weeks. Officials are saying he was also conspiring to kill the president. The FBI accused Kasap of conspiracy, attempting to assassinate the president, and attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction. And by the way, for my federal handler that likes to watch these videos, this is NBC News' words, not mine. Just want to clarify that. I harbor no ill will toward anyone. According to the FBI, officials found what they called a manifesto while searching for a device that belonged to Kasap. The document called for the president's assassination in order to instigate a race war and sow chaos. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Well, does that remind you of, I don't know, like Manson or any of that other weird stuff? Where
You're getting close. You're very, very close. Warmer.
They were trying to do that exact thing? I don't know, but it is interesting now, isn't it? Now, here's one of these things where I'm like, where are feds? Where are feds at? Because, like, this guy is all over the place and obviously a problem, and it's not how he got caught at all. So, let's jump in here. Kasap also disclosed his plans to others on TikTok and Telegram and identified himself as a follower of Order of the Nine Angles.
Hot, hot, you're burning hot. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're in the news again, baby. Oh yeah. How many times do I have to say it? How many times do I have to say until you fucking people realize the goddamn dark occult fuckers have plans for this country and for the world? And I can't confirm this. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure the rumor word around the campfire is that boy is Moldovan. He was born in Moldova. I don't know if that's true or not. But given the names Nikita and Tatiana, that kind of makes me think, that kind of is making me think, oh boy, is this walrus behavior? Is there walrus activity going on in my neck of the woods? Because if I see walrus blubber, it just dragging itself across the fucking, if I see that in my neighborhood, there's going to be hell to pay.
Which someone earlier in the chat mentioned, and yes, we're going to get into that a little bit more.
That was yours truly.
Because you probably don't know about it. If you don't, I'll give you some things to at least be aware of, because it's weird and it's concerning that this is happening right now here in the country, right? So how much more of there is it, right? Which the FBI describes as a neo-Nazi cult that advocates for the use of violence and terrorism to overthrow governments and destroy modern civilization. According to the FBI, KSEP allegedly partially paid.
They're revolting against the modern world. Julius Ebola was a god.
The dropping mechanism to inflict harm by descending an explosive Molotov cocktail or very strong topical poison on a target.
Like it's fucking Ukraine or some shit.
Now, if you are trying to be prepared, I highly recommend you acquire a drone of some kind. Now, there are a lot of different levels to what you have to
UAV online.
To either know or be licensed for or be registered through or anything along those lines based on the capabilities and size and weight and everything else of the drone that you choose. And there are some things out there that I think would be great to have that I don't currently have, like thermal capable drones, which I think would be the ultimate in the sense of search and rescue or even in, perimeter defense or surveillance, right? But I highly recommend you get something. One thing I wanted to show was that I've just been playing with this little thing for a while now. This is an Atom, or a Potensic Atom SE. And what's cool is that this little drone, it's not very expensive compared to drones in general. It's around $300 or something.
Just put some C4 on that shit. Then you launch it like it's freaking Cold War.
And it has a 4K camera on it with a stabilizer that shoots pretty decent footage. You can save the video footage, you can take photos. I can program it to fly around in a perimeter-style circle or square, whatever I want. I can program it to follow me and to videotape whatever I'm doing. Right? But regardless, this thing, I can sit in my living room and fly it over to my neighbor, all the way down the street, all the way through the back part of my property, wherever I need to, and without having to leave the property. So there's a lot of benefits there. So I definitely suggest fancy remote control airplane film stuff. It's hard, savagely, but I'm working on it because I'm hoping I can use it out on the. Now there's no people in suits enforcing this or that. Now they're just going to have drones going around checking everybody's window. Its short-term goal is to undermine what it caricatures as a decadent Judeo-Christian society, with an emphasis placed on real-world acts, the aim being a new imperial civilization based on a cruel mixture of social Darwinism, Satanism, and fascism.
Oh God. Oh God, Luke. Oh God, chat. Oh, dear sweet Jesus. How many times have I talked about this? How many times?
Adherents are encouraged to secretly infiltrate organizations, such as the military or Christian churches, in order to destabilize them from within.
Let me see. I think that little sigil right there is probably a, was it the black sulfur tattoo?
Makes you question things, doesn't it? Makes you question certain things, like if there's ever been an attack on a church by one of their own, right? Or if there's ever been an attack by a military member on a base or a fort, right? So just things I think about, I guess, right? Those who progress through the ONA's hierarchical ranks are required to undertake various tasks, including forming their own small groups to prove their leadership abilities, with the result that a decentralized network of associated bodies exists throughout various countries. There's a total rejection of ethics, and some key texts even discuss ritual sacrifice, both symbolic and actual. Figures, such as the British murderer Ian Brady, are celebrated, being viewed as people who have operated outside normal moral boundaries, the transgression of which is a constant theme for the group. One small US-based associate body, which has its own publishing house, was banned from mainstream social media last year. Its members had posed at the sites of various notorious essays and murders, celebrating the perpetrators in the process. Certain words get weird. I'm trying my best to not spike things in a way that's going to, spike things. Some followers also express enthusiasm for Islamist jihadist violence. Oh yeah. The ONA has satanic Muslims. This real-world activity is supposed to have a supernatural effect, opening up a gateway into the world for evil energies. How influential is it? The ONA has acted as an influence on several neo-Nazi extremist groups, including the US-based Atomwaffen division.
Which they already had Satanists infiltrated. Go look up, what the hell's his name? James Mason, right? And just type in James Mason Satanism, you will find it. I guarantee you these assholes have dragged their ass across the internet like a dog, and they're easily trackable.
Remember that? No? Okay, well, a couple years ago, or was that last year?
Pepperidge Farms remembers.
The Atomwaffen division was arrested while they were plotting to destroy the power grid, especially in the Maryland-Baltimore area. So, interesting. Anyway, and the Sonnenkrieg division, which was banned as a terrorist organization in the UK earlier this year. Such groups reject attempts at gaining popular support for the extreme right, whether through demonstrations or campaigns, and are instead committed to an ideology of so-called accelerationism, which predicts societal collapse and racial warfare, seeking to speed up the process through acts of violence. The ideology is promoted in several online spaces, and that is where it has blended with the ideas promoted by ONA, giving the latter an increased influence on the furthest edges of the extreme right. Okay. We go further, but I don't think we need to. I think that you can see here that this group is influential in these arenas, and at the same time doesn't have ethics related to what you would usually expect from like a more organized criminal entity or organization, right? So they're here in the U.S., they're operating, and one of their members just was plotting to assassinate the president. They were using their parents' money, who they murdered, to try to buy a drone that had dropping capabilities, and they also were armed, clearly, with their stepfather's firearm.
Which, I'll just say it right now, this is not exactly the most tactical, let's say, but it sounds like he's going on a fucking quest. It really sounds like a survival horror, like, segment. Like, you know, like in Resident Evil, like there's that one scene where you play as the little girl and you're trying to avoid the guy who's trying to kill you, right? And you can't use any weapons, you just have to use your wit and hide and things such as that. Same concept in this regard. Because it really comes off like this is less of a, you know, inside job and more of like this guy had to like actually try to fucking get a gun, actually try to kill his mother to commandeer her vehicle, and then actually try to like source all this crap to like kill the president. These people are not exactly the smartest, but at the same time, what I will say is go look up Standalone Complex, Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, the Laughing Man arc. That's all you need to know, because some of these people are just edgelords, right? But then some of them also are going to almost certainly be terrorists and even foreign actors, okay? I really want to know what... Again, I'm going to have to confirm whether or not Nikita over here was fucking a Moldovan, because I've heard the guy was a Moldovan. I heard that's the case. I don't know if that's real or not. I will look that up for you guys, and I will get back to you.
The 357 Magnum. Oh, man. Ugh. Gosh. Some FUD at a gun show has got their wings. Anyway, regardless, this has happened. This kid just got arrested. He's only 17. Who else is here doing this? Who else is here that's more capable of doing this? Who else is here that is an adult doing this, right? So just be aware that some of these things are more insidious than what we originally assume, and some of these groups are tied to things that we may not even realize until it's too late. And like I said, that Atomwaffen group was literally in Maryland trying to take down the power grid just recently. And, I mean, at the time, nothing was reported on their associations with ONA, but clearly they are, right? So these people are in America. They're doing stuff here in America, and we should be prepared because this kid didn't get caught by the FBI in some sort of dragnet operation.
Here's a fun little concept. Accident. I think it's called benevolent anti-Semitism, right? The idea behind it is that you just discriminate against a large enough population, right? That you'll eventually avoid the bad guys as well as the good guys inevitably, right? So the people who just hated Sam Bankman-Fried because, oh my God, Bankman, right? Versus the people who hated him because of his identity or ethnicity. Not that I encourage this, right? Those motherfuckers, they insulated themselves away from that. So let me just say this. How about you discriminate against the Satanists and the occultists and all the rest of that magical shit, and see how far your life goes. Discriminate against it. I mean, you don't have to go out and do a hate crime or some shit like that. Just say, hey, it's not for me. I'm gonna go this over here, and you stay away from those people. See how better your life will be. Because I guarantee you, you stay away from the occult crap, you stay away from the Ouija boards and the frickin' voodoo ladies, you'll be just fine. Better than most, even. So now that we know that the ONA is basically going mainstream, which I honestly am kind of upset about, right? Apparently there was another guy who attacked the Pennsylvanian governor, Mr. Shapiro. No one hears about that, right? But I think it was Josh Shapiro. Yeah, he got freaking attacked and was Molotoved, right? He survived, but there were still people attacking him, right? The world's getting darker, and you guys gotta be safe. So I'm gonna leave it here because I'm kind of running out of ideas to talk about and things to talk about. Just want to give you guys an update. Hopefully it's not slop. Take care of one another. Remember, saving the West is a side quest.